Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a sports betting perspective. With pro handicappers Alex B. Smith and veteran sports writer Jimmy Murphy. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Saturday, October 16th, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you. And kind of a special feeling on the show today because Saturday is always one of the most jam-packed NHL days of the entire week. And for the first time this year, we get to experience a Saturday NHL slate, which is loaded with tons of games, 14 on tap. We'll break down every single one as we always do. And we'll also look at the game tomorrow because we will not be on tomorrow. We're going to take Sunday off, and we're going to do the one Sunday game, which is Dallas-Ottawa. We'll talk about that at the end of today's show. So this is your weekend NHL betting preview, essentially, right here today. So without further ado, Alex, let's get right into it. We've got a game starting in half an hour from now, 1 p.m. Eastern. Arizona Coyotes, Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo minus 120, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. The Buffalo Sabres with a nice win in their opener against Montreal, 5-1. Quite impressive, actually. Their power play was very impressive, and it's going to have to be good for them this year because I worry about 5-on-5 offense a little bit for this team, but good first game for the Buffalo Sabres. Unfortunately for them, key injuries already suffered in that game. Henry Jokiharju on the blue line got hurt. He's going to be out for a period of time. Same with Casey Middlestat, their top-line center, going to be out for this game. So Dylan Cousins in just year 2 in the league, after it was his rookie year last year, the year after he got drafted, he'll be centering the top line with Skinner for the Buffalo Sabres and Vinny Hinostroza on that top line. Cal Okposo plays on the second line with Zemgus Girgensson and Cody Eakin, Rasmus Asplund, Tage Thompson, Victor Olofsson, the third line, Bjork Ruotsalainen, and Drake Caggiula on the fourth line. And now with Jokiharju out, you got to go even further into your blue line depth. You're going to see Will Butcher. You're going to see Jacob Bryson. More of that blue line here. So an Arizona team on the flip side that just got embarrassed, trashed by Columbus, an absolutely awful team, we think, coming into this year on paper, and they played like it in that very first game against Columbus. Kind of a bubbling cauldron, though, Alex, right? With Columbus playing with that heavy emotion, first game of the year, honoring Matisse Kivlenieks before the game. So it was just a collision and a nightmare situation essentially for Arizona in that game, but they're still not going to be very good. I don't know if I'm ready yet to say, hey, let's lay minus 120 with Buffalo, but I lean that way, and I also would lean over the total here, 5.5, minus 115, minus 120. We're talking 5.5 with a defense that looked hideous, against Columbus. Just brutal defensive breakdowns left and right. We did see Buffalo have a good power play against Montreal. I do worry about Middlestat, but I would lean Buffalo, would lean over here. I like the over a little bit more than the Buffalo side, but they're a small play for me either way with the over as well. It is an early start game. You never know how that's going to turn out. What I do like is Dylan Cousins props in this game. Again, I always like this, finding the change, right? The guy that's moving up in the lineup, more responsibility, more onus on them offensively to produce. I like Dylan Cousins here maybe to score a goal in this game. I'd look at a goal score prop for him over shots. This worked out perfectly last night for me with Vasily Podkolzin for Vancouver. He moved up to that second line. Look what he did. He was all over the ice. He scores a goal for the Canucks, and I think maybe you could see that for Dylan Cousins. And this is a guy that brings it every night for Buffalo. This is a guy that, from a character standpoint, he's got character in spades. This guy cares. He plays hard every night. So Dylan Cousins is a player prop that I'm looking at here for the Sabres today. Alex, what's your thoughts? Arizona, Buffalo.
Yeah, when I looked at the first week schedule, I already said I was not going to have a side play on this game at all because, like I said, I have them ranked as the 2 worst teams in the league. And, yeah, this is probably the best hockey we're going to see them play, at least Buffalo. He said had a great effort in their first game. But the Arizona, it was, like I said, it was a perfect storm. Columbus playing with a ton of emotion and Arizona just looking bad. I mean, their defense is built to give up goals in bunches. Their goaltending is built to give up goals in bunches. And now you've got Karel Vamilka going as the backup. They said he had an impressive, preseason. He's got some okay numbers in the Czech league over the last couple of years. And so now he's getting a shot because Carter Hutton just looked awful, let in some soft goals in that 8-2 loss. So With that, the early start, even though they've already been on the East Coast, but there's still, you have this early start, and Arizona's not a team that plays a lot of early games wherever they, whether be it at home or on the road. Buffalo's used to having these 1 o'clock local starts, so I expect to see goals here early. I'm already on the first period over. I would lean with the full game over as well because, as I said, now you've got injury questions for the blue line for Buffalo as well. This could be a track meet. Honestly, I would not be shocked to see this be a 7-6 final in all honesty. So I would say grab the 5.5. And if let's say you get 2 goals early, but things start to slow down, you still might be able to get a good adjusted number on a 8 or an 8.5 in game. It just feels like the pace is going to be outrageous. I don't see who's going to make stops defensively. I don't know how many saves the goalies might be able to take some unders for save props for goalies, and things get out of hand quickly. One, if not both goalies, could end up getting pulled, and then things just go completely haywire. So I see this being a goal fest for sure, but I'm definitely on the first period.
All right, like in the first period over here, Arizona and Buffalo. And yes, wow, I'm just hearing that now. It's expected to miss several weeks. Max Pacioretty and Mark Stone, of course, is likely going to miss some time. Question of how much. Yes, both injuries incurred in that loss to the LA Kings on Thursday night. Pacioretty out 6 weeks. Elliot Friedman of Hockey Night in Canada and NHL Network said he's out 6 weeks. Stone, we don't know how he's going to miss some time. I think Stone is a question of how much. So, wow, you talk about a setback for Vegas. Keep an eye on that moving forward. Like that's that's maybe your 2 best forwards right there out of the lineup moving forward. And that's not a team, Alex, where you can say, you know what, 3rd, 4th line guys, we trust you to move up in the lineup to the top 6 and produce, because they haven't gotten consistent production at all from anybody in those lower depth forward positions.
Yeah, we talked about that the other day with this team, that they're not built top to bottom like they were the first couple of years of their existence. So those are 2 really big blows now for that team, and it's going to really struggle with their offense. And like I said, but hell, it will affect their defense too, because now they're susceptible. If they can't get the puck movement and speed up front, then they're going to be liable to facing more shots than usual and back. So this affects everything top to bottom for that lineup. That's going to be something to watch moving forward.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Very, very disappointing news, I'm sure, for Vegas after hearing that. And we'll see how they can cobble together the lineup without potentially both Pacioretty and Stone for a significant period of time. New York Islanders, Florida Panthers next up. Florida minus 130, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. A small bet for me on Florida here, minus 130. Survived the game effort against Pittsburgh the other night and beat the Penguins. The Islanders, not again a team that usually defensively pretty solid, but they ran into a Carolina team that, look, I don't even think that's necessarily what the Islanders didn't do. I think it's what Carolina can do to teams, and that's light you up, because, like I said, they've got guys on all 4 lines that can find the back of the net. That is how loaded up front the Carolina Hurricanes are. The Islanders found that out the other night, but it was concerning to see them actually play that way defensively, and maybe against some better offensive teams. If Florida probably fits that bill, maybe you're going to see the Islanders have a little bit of a tough time. The Islanders, as you often hear when they don't play great defensively, are going to try to tighten it up again. Barry Trotz is already saying we didn't stick to our structure after the loss against the Hurricanes the other night. So you'd expect that. Like I said on Twitter the other night, player props. So I'm on Florida here, minus 130 for a small bet. But like I said on Twitter the other night, or the other day when Florida played, talking about Aaron Ekblad, my pick to be Norris Trophy winner this year. I think he could remember he was on pace to be in the Norris conversation before he got hurt last year. He had 6 shots on goal the other night. You can get over 2.5 shots on goal. Aaron Ekblad plus 120 right now. Like they're not going to adjust that right away. Odds makers are not going. Come on, NHL player props is not on the high importance meter right now for odds makers. You could really cash in on some of these, like Adam Fox. I mentioned him too. Bet over shots on goal with these. If they shoot from anywhere, they're aggressive. They look to shoot the puck. Ekblad does. Adam Fox for the Rangers does as well. I like that prop. Aaron Ekblad over 2.5 shots in this game, plus 120 at 6 in the game against Pittsburgh the other night. And I like Florida here. Alex, what do you think? Islanders, Panthers.
I would lean with Florida here. I know there are people on Twitter that were upset that Bobrovsky's getting the start over Spencer Knight. I mean, like, we already know that Q said he's going to be flipping the goalies back and forth to see who kind of can kind of emerge as the starter here. So I don't mind seeing him get the nod. I would look at the draw here at plus 320. Even though this series has been dominated last 7 of the last 10 wins by the Islanders, I could see this where this Florida's gonna want to try to play better defensively. Obviously, the Islanders are gonna want to try to play better defensively too after taking on the Carolina team that you talked about it. This is going to be a team that scores a lot of goals and be in some high scoring affairs. Florida, that's the same kind of style. They play with a lot of speed, but I think they know they understand they have to be defensively responsible against this Islander team because of the style in which they play. I've seen under 6 minus $1.20 at a couple of shops. I would maybe even give that a look as well. But you probably get a better adjusted price early in the game if there's no score after, say, the first 5 or 10 minutes, if you like that. But I'm going to go with the draw plus 320. I could see this being a 2-2 game or even a 3-3 game right on that number of 6 after 60 minutes of play.
All right, liking the draw here. Islanders, Panthers, Alex B. Smith. All right, Tampa Bay, Washington. We've got Tampa Bay minus 125, road favorite, 6.5 the total in this one. Of course, Alex Ovechkin, he wants that. I don't think it's that he wants the record. He wants to play well. He wants to help the team win. He's a team guy, but still, he wants the record too. And what a start to try to track down Wayne Gretzky. And Wayne Gretzky's got to sit there Wednesday night in the TNT studio because they're doing the Capitals game that night and watch Alex Ovechkin get closer and closer to catching the great one and his all-time goal-scoring record in the NHL. 2 goals for Ovi in the win against the Rangers, passing Marcel Dion as well for 5th on the all-time list. So, great start to the season for him. Watch out for also Hendrix Lapierre. He scored in his very first NHL game. They really like him. He's playing on a third line with Oshie and Connor Sheary. So that's all of a sudden a nice, capable third line of potential offense for Washington. When you look at this team, there's certainly a lot to like. Offensively, I was worried about the defense a little bit, but they were solid. And the goaltending from Vanacek was very good in the win against the Rangers as well. Let's not forget about that. I thought he played very well in that game. So well that why not? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Peter Laviolette rolling right back to Vitek Vanacek in net tonight for the Washington Capitals. And look, Vasilevsky in net, but boy, it's been a tough start for him. Not the Pittsburgh game because all those goals were late, and the net empty, but the Detroit game was rough for him. I mean, he definitely was fighting it and fighting the puck. And look, for Tampa Bay, they had a terrible first game against Pittsburgh. They were largely very bad at times last night, but they rescued themselves because, look, Detroit's Detroit. They're still rebuilding. They're going to have nights like that where it looks good for them, and then all of a sudden the roof caves in. But that was still not that's about as unimpressive a comeback overtime win as you'll see from the Tampa Bay Lightning on Thursday night. Just a team that you worry about, just game to game. Are they going to be at their absolute best? Talked about all the hockey they've played. They've had defensive issues. And Washington, good first win for them. I like Washington here. You're going to slight home underdog price here in this one, plus 105, plus 110. Tampa Bay just has not played good enough, 60-minute enough hockey in the first 2 games, and they're going to have to here against Washington if they're going to emerge victorious. And I'll take my shot here with the Capitals here at a home underdog price. Alex, what do you like here, Lightning Capitals?
Yeah, the only thing I can look here would be Capitals. I mean, the way that Tampa has played these last 2 games, things are going to turn around at some point, but I'm getting any of my money right now and waiting to see when the turnaround is going to happen. This is a Washington team. I do think they're on the decline in the long term, but right now, like I said, they've played well in the first couple of games. And Ovechkin, like you said, he's playing with a man possessed. Didn't think he was going to come out this hot right away, especially after suffering that minor injury in preseason. But like I said, things are looking well. And Hendrix Lapierre, he's a guy that might actually end up being on the radar for the Calder Trophy if he can kind of keep up that performance. And I've heard a couple people say that his kind of youthful injection to that top 4, that forward line rather, I should say, might be a good thing for this older, Caps team as a whole. Have some guys who, like I said, haven't really been there, haven't, gone through the struggles that some of the key core members of this team have. That might be something that could really boost them moving forward. So, like I said, it's Washington or nothing here.
All right, Washington or nothing here for Alex in this one. And yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, it's been a struggle to say the least here early in the campaign for this Tampa Bay Lightning team. And I'm just looking up because I want to find it. I mean, I'm curious. Where's Andre Vasilevsky in goals saved above average? That is the advanced statistic now, primarily for goaltenders. I'm just curious. Where is he? He's at minus 3.32. I know it's a small sample size, right? 2 games. It's not much. And we know he's an elite goalie. But right now he's not playing well. And he'll be fine long term. He'll get it back. But is tonight going to be the night he gets it back? He has the second worst goals saved above average number in the league right now. There's one guy that's worse than him, and it's a guy that gave up like 7 or 8 goals the other night to Columbus, Carter Hutton, for Arizona. That's it. So it's been a struggle early on for Vasilevsky. And then you look at Vitek Vanacek, he's got a positive goals saved above average margin this year. So that shows you how good he played against the Rangers the other night. So another reason maybe to buy into maybe the Capitals here to get the job done here at home tonight. The New York Rangers, Montreal Canadiens, we got even money, both sides, 6 the total, shaded to the under in this game. Home opener for the Montreal Canadiens at the Bell Center. They started on the road against Toronto and Buffalo in their first 2 games, losing both games. There's issues for Montreal right now. Not playing well. Defensively, they've had some issues. Their special teams have been atrocious. Their power play is awful. Their penalty kill is absolutely brutal to begin the year, Montreal. So if you're losing the special teams battle decisively like they are, that's not a team I'm rushing to back right now. But I do like the fact they come home. I expect a much better kind of a sense of urgency to take over for Montreal. It should take over for the Rangers too, because they're 0-2. They haven't exactly started strong. And we put a 1-month ban on Jimmy Murphy yesterday from betting the New York Rangers. He actually suggested it. I'm not going to for a month. And I said, for a month, all right, we'll hold you to it. I'm not going to put myself on a ban for the New York Rangers, but after losing twice with them, I'm passing. I'm not coming back to them tonight. I want to see them win. Now I'm not going to chase a win with the Rangers. Show me a good performance. Show me the ability to get the job done. And then maybe I'll come back to you and back you and bet on you in another game. Until I see that win, I'm going to steer clear. So this is a pass for me. Alex, what do you think? Rangers, Canadiens.
Yeah, I want to pass on the side. I'm sure the crowd's going to be absolutely electric. Keep in mind they couldn't have a full house during the Stanley Cup final run. So they're going to be celebrating, which is strange. They'll be hanging up the banner as Campbell Conference champions. So that's going to be a new addition to the mini banners that are hanging in that arena. But the thing I'm looking at here would be a goal prop with Alexis Lafreniere. This is his first time playing in Canada. Talking about how he's got to have a ton of friends and family there in attendance. I think he's going to be able to show off for his family and that crowd and get a goal here. So I like him plus 350 to get a goal. Like I said, I don't want to back the Rangers for a while. I want to see them, actually, show some fortitude and bounce back and get a win. But this might be a tough environment for them to do so. Like I said, it should be a back and forth game. But that's the only play I have here would be Lafreniere to score plus 350.
Yeah, he's had 4 shots on goal in the first 2 games for the New York Rangers. He's had some, especially the Washington game. He had 3 in that game. Really had a bunch of chances. Definitely fired up for this game here, taking on Montreal. Close to homes for him. So family, friends. You're right. The definitely from a situational standpoint, I think that's a good goal scorer prop. He's had some chances tonight. Maybe finds the back of the net here in Montreal. Against the Canadiens. Dallas and Boston. We've got Boston minus 175 home favorites, 5.5 the total in this one. One of the few teams that hasn't played a game yet, the Boston Bruins. Season opener, home opener for them as they take on this Dallas Stars team. This is not a game, unfortunately, I have a very strong opinion on either. I'm not ready to lay minus 180 with Boston. I'm sure our colleague Jimmy Murphy would concur. This is probably a wait-and-see approach for me with the Boston Bruins, a team that, again, on the blue line, not much different, but some changes back there. The good news is they got the Charlie McAvoy deal done. And, people saying, well, maybe they paid a bit too much. Well, guess what? He is now your cornerstone. You got to pay one of these great, the better defensemen you have. And I think it's right for Boston to get this done, because definitely you need him right now going into this one. Dallas on the flip side with a nice 3-2 win in their first game against the New York Rangers. We'll see if they can carry that success over here to tonight as they take on the Boston Bruins. Boston, another thing that's going to be fascinating to watch here is Charlie Coyle. Obviously a lot more responsibility. He's going to be the new second-line center with David Krejci going back to Europe to play in the offseason. I'm going to say Coyle steps up here. Shots on goal prop and goal scoring prop. Charlie Coyle. I'm going to say it. I mean, I think that he knows that, hey, I'm going to be asked, a lot's going to be asked of me this year. I'm replacing a second line center that was very good, the last couple of years. And I think, and if you can find point props as well, I'd look toward Charlie Coyle tonight as well. Not just shots, not just to score, but points over as well. That prop for Charlie Coyle tonight. By the way, his shots prop, it looks like it's just 1.5 in some spots. So not bad at all, because he's not always a guy you think of as an active shooter, but I think there's going to be an onus on him tonight, Charlie Coyle, to be able to shoot the puck a little bit and be able to, in his first game in this expanded role, top six role, second line center. That's big responsibility, because it can't all fall on Bergeron, Marchand, and Pasternak. And Coyle's going to have play a big part in what kind of depth scoring, depth production this team gets up front. So I think tonight he shows it and tries to show, Bruce Cassidy that, hey, I'm ready for this responsibility to be the second line center. So it's just one of those gut feels that I think players, when they get elevated into a new role, first game or so, you really try to see them show the coaching staff, I'm ready. You can trust me to be there, to play well, to produce, and maybe we'll see that tonight with Charlie Coyle. Alex, what do you think here, Dallas and Boston?
Yeah, with a lot of games on the board, this is one that's a clear pass for me. There's nothing I like. If I had to play something, I would lean with Dallas, looking at Braden Holtby getting the start tonight, and it'll be Anton Khudobin starting in Ottawa tomorrow. But Holtby's numbers against Boston have been absolutely dynamite. 18-4 with a 1.98 goals against average, a 9.39 save percentage, and 4 shutouts. So he's done well. And obviously most of those, if not all of those, came when he was a member of the Washington Capitals, a team that had done well against Boston overall. But I think that, that he's familiar with that team, and they still have pretty much the same setup that he's seen over the years. That'll be something to kind of get things rolling for him. And like I said, Boston's, got a lot of transition, things that they need to work on, especially Jeremy Swayman starting in net, who I think more than likely will end up being the starter for most of the year. I personally think he's a better goaltender than Ullmark. So that is a plus for them. But like I said, I want to see how Boston comes out swinging against the Dallas team that's already played in a decent battle in the first game that they had. So it's a pass for me.
All right, it's a pass for Alex in this one. All right, we move on now. Seattle Kraken, Columbus Blue Jackets. Seattle minus 115 road favorites, 5.5 the total in this one. Columbus just absolutely pounded the Arizona Coyotes and on Thursday night. Obviously, we figured, look, Columbus is definitely rebuilding too, but they're not at the level Arizona is in terms of how thin the roster is. Not even close. Columbus still have the better roster, and they definitely showed that the other night against Arizona. We'll see if they can carry that performance over. It could be difficult. I mean, just from a situational standpoint, they had the nice tribute. It was a very, very emotional evening there at Nationwide Arena. And this is going to be a little bit of trouble, I think, maybe to trust, Columbus to get that, energy, that motor, and that, that spark back again tonight against this Seattle team that, look, Seattle's this close from being 2-0 to start the year. I mean, the Vegas game, they played great in the second period, third period in that game to really erase a tough start, and they had a chance to win it, but Vegas gets the controversial goal that counted off the skate. They win 4-3, and a very nice game against Nashville. Seattle, they gave up the first. That's twice now, Alex, twice. Seattle gives up the first goal, and we have seen this team respond. Dig in, get better, keep playing, no panic. Things don't fall apart. Things don't unravel. We just keep our game going, forecheck, roll each line. And they had one good shift after another after they gave up that goal to Nashville the other night. And it really got Seattle going. And sure enough, they end up taking the lead. Their power play was very effective, and they beat Nashville 4-3 for that first win of the season. Congrats to the Kraken. I'd lean Seattle before Columbus in this game. Don't love it. I thought that was a great spot, and I was not very high on Nashville. It was a combination of both things, like in Seattle the other night, but I still lean Seattle here. I mean, Columbus off the emotional night the other night, I don't know if they're going to have the right response. And, I like the way, and Seattle, I don't think it's one of those things, oh, we won our first game as a franchise, we're satisfied. I think they want to string some wins together. If I'm playing in this game, it would be the road favorite. Alex B. Smith, what do you think? Seattle, Columbus?
Well, based on what you said with, the Seattle team, they've gone down early, but they've been able to fight back. They're a very resilient bunch. I might say wait and see if they go down once again, and then they come back. You'll get a better adjusted price live with the Seattle Kraken. But here, I like the first period over. We've seen this hit twice already for Seattle. And, of course, we saw this hit with that Columbus blowout win against Arizona. But it could be, like I said, this might be a bit of a letdown spot possibly for Columbus. It shouldn't be because it's the second game of the season, but because of just how big of that first win was for them on all accounts. Maybe they could come out a bit flat, and we see the Seattle team say, hey, you know what? We've been down early the last couple of games. Let's try to move forward and let's get the first jump on these guys. But either way, I think we're going to see some a spirited effort from Seattle, and it could start early. So I like this first period over. You only land $1.20.
All right, first period over here for Seattle and Columbus. All right, Ottawa, Toronto, Battle of Ontario for the second straight game. Ottawa beat Toronto 3-2 Thursday night in the nation's capital. Now they play at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. Toronto minus 255, minus 260. Home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. I'm not going to complicate this game. Toronto is absolutely hell-bent on a better start. That's now 2 games in a row where they haven't started the game well. The Montreal game in the opener, although they came back to win. And certainly the first period was a disaster, down 3-0 the other night in the first period against Ottawa. Sheldon Keefe said it, Marner, Matthews, Nylander, a lot of the key cogs on this team. Tavares, we just got to start the game better. You can't keep getting ourselves behind the 8 ball early. So I expect that tonight. Toronto maybe, on the back-to-back nights as well on the road in Ottawa. Didn't necessarily play well. By the way, Peter Mrazek got injured in that game, and Jack Campbell had to finish the game for the Leafs. So that's something to keep an eye on, definitely moving forward. His status, of course, Matthews still not quite ready to return yet for the Leafs, although they're hoping the next game that he'll be back. I'd expect this team, though, if you believe what they're saying, to have a better start, especially playing a team that beat them the other night. So the bet that I'm going to go with here in this one is I'm going to go with the Leafs -0.5 plus 115 first period. First period puck line -0.5 plus 115. I'm not going to worry about do they win the game. I'm not going to worry about a -260 money line price or the full game puck line. I'm going to look toward the Leafs, turning the words into action, getting a good start, getting a good first period, team that beat them Thursday night, and I think they will do that here. So for me, Toronto Maple Leafs -0.5 first period puck line plus 115. Alex, what do you think here? Senators and Leafs.
Yeah, I would lean with that play as well. It makes sense that they would want to jump out all over Ottawa earlier because that's what the Senators did to them. And here's the thing. They better hope that Jack Campbell doesn't go down because if he should, either struggle or get hurt, it's Alex Bishop in net. You've never heard of Alex Bishop, and neither have I. This guy is on an amateur tryout from the University of Toronto. So they are having salary cap issues, so they had to pretty much sign someone from around the way to be the backup this evening. So it'll be interesting to see if Campbell, like I said, because he already played, if he does let in a few goals, if the defense falters around him. I don't know what exactly would be the trigger for Sheldon Keefe to pull Campbell and put this kid in, but that would make for probably something to look at when you're looking at betting in game, because Toronto, fading Toronto and going with the over might be something of issues. I don't know how. When's the last time we've seen somebody with an amateur trial outside of an injury signing like a Scott Foster?
They have no cap space, so they can't call up Hutchinson, who would have been the guy.
This is something that we haven't seen in 40 or 50 years. So you can't really track how these things work out. But I mean, throwing a university goalie into an NHL game doesn't sound like something that would be the best of spots for Toronto, especially with the way they're playing right now. So like I said, it's Campbell for right now, and they're hoping Campbell for all 60 minutes and them getting a win. But I'm going to go with that first period puck line as well. I think Toronto, gives Ottawa all they can handle in the first 20 minutes.
All right, there you go. First period puck line -0.5 +115. And yes, we're talking about the U of T goalie there, potentially having to be in the game, Alex Bishop for Toronto, if Campbell were to get hurt. Again, normal circumstances, Hutchinson is the guy because he's the starting goalie with the Marlies right now in the AHL. But the cap space issues preclude Toronto from doing that. So tough spot for them to be in. But that's what happens when you fit the bill of multiple key cogs on your team like Marner, Nylander, Matthews. You pay the price in the cap, and Toronto's doing that a little bit. Chicago and Pittsburgh next up. We've got Pittsburgh -135, home favorites here, 6 the total. A ton of money on Chicago. Marc-Andre Fleury against his former team. I think that's something to that. People seeing that Pittsburgh's still very much banged up front, although their effort in these 2 games without Crosby, Malkin, and Gensel, Alex, has been commendable, right? I mean, the impressive win against Tampa, they come back from an early deficit against Florida, get a point in that game. It goes to overtime, and then Florida wins in overtime, but still a great, admirable effort for a shorthanded Pittsburgh Penguins team. And they're obviously the rested team. They played Thursday, and this is their home opener. And Chicago played last night in New Jersey. A game where Jack Hughes single-handedly won the game, I think, for New Jersey. He was just magnificent, and we all saw the highlight reel goal he had in overtime to beat the Blackhawks last night. Incredible work by him. Back-to-back situation. They saved Marc-Andre Fleury for this game. I'll tell you what's funny about Chicago. You give them a man advantage situation, whether it's pulling the goalie, whether it's a power play. They've been pretty damn good this year in those spots. Power play's been good. Of course, they tie the game. Kubalik with the net empty. So these man advantage situations, they've been awesome. I would like to see them do better, though, 5-on-5 offense, though, the Chicago Blackhawks. You get still room for improvement there from that standpoint. We'll see if that can something they can rectify here tonight against Pittsburgh. I can see why people took Chicago initially. It's just that at the current price, I don't know if I'd be as much interested in Chicago now that it's down to +115. +120 here, given the way Pittsburgh has certainly played better without the key cogs up front than I thought they would. And you give Mike Sullivan credit for putting them in a position to have a good structure, good game plan, and be ready to still have other guys contribute as well. They're getting some depth forward production as well and scoring on this Pittsburgh team, which has been impressive to see. So, yeah, I agree with the number maybe being a little high on the open. People like in Chicago, it's down to +115. And, I still lean Chicago, but it's a lot of the value and a lot of the good price taken out of that with where the number is right now. Alex, what's your thoughts here with Blackhawks and Penn?
Yeah, that Hawks game was a bit frustrating. Obviously, the most frustrating thing was not cashing the first period over. You give up a goal 17 seconds in, and then just absolutely nothing the rest of the way. That's always frustrating to have. But like I said, great effort by the Hawks to come back and tie that game, force overtime, and earn a point. And then, like I said, Jack Hughes was just on fire. He simply undressed Lankinen for that game-winning goal, and the defense was getting cooked for most of that game. I mean, it reminds me a lot of another Chicago team, the Bears. You see the Bears' offensive line just, their quarterback's down on the ground, and these guys are still standing up, turning around, looking at them. But that's the same way you're seeing these Hawks defenders. They're just standing there, lost with their back, looking at their goaltender and the pucks in the net. So it's that's not a good look so far on the first couple of games. The defense has to be better for the Hawks, but the offense has been great. For the first time in eons, they have a power play that can move the puck, and they're not afraid to take the right shot. They're not making the extra pass. They're not skating around and trying to be too cute. So that's a really, really good sign for the Hawks moving forward. And for Pittsburgh, obviously, like I said, they're weathering the storm with these injuries. Now Brian Rust is out. Zach Aston Reese is back in. Danton Heinen, who's already had a couple of goals, he's been bumped up to, like I said, to the top line. So that'll be interesting to see. Maybe look for him to have over with his shots on goal prop. I'm going to stay away from this side. Like I said, there's not that much value with the Hawks. I'd like to see them get a win here and get their first 2 points of the season. But like I said, for Pittsburgh, the way that they're playing right now, they're it's all hands on deck and next man up mentality, and so they should give the Hawks a good battle there.
All right, good stuff there. Like I said, I lean Chicago, but at the price now, a lot of the price has been the good price, I should say, has been taken out of it by the betting markets as a lot of money's come in on Chicago so far today. And yeah, their 5-on-5 offense, Jarek, a good friend of ours in the chat, mentioning that yeah, they got to get more generated at even strength. It's not been enough so far in the first 2 games for the Chicago Blackhawks. And Gensel's back, at least. Gensel, I misspoke earlier. He did play Thursday night against Florida. And that was his return. He's back. But now they've still got Crosby, Malkin out. And as we mentioned, Rust. Good chance he doesn't play tonight. So still short-handed, like I said up front, this Pittsburgh team. All right, we'll pause for just a second to mention DraftKings, our great sponsors here at the Ice Guys. And it's a great time of year because the DraftKings Sportsbook has been obviously the official sports betting partner of the NFL. And it continues to be. New customers can bet just $1 on any NFL game tomorrow and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. So obviously you're going to have a great chance to see that happen. If DraftKings isn't available in your state, you can play the huge cash prizes and the fantasy side of things all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contest. DraftKings giving new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with the first deposit. And then on the NHL side, just announced this week, DraftKings, the official sponsor of the sportsbook sponsor of the NHL, official sportsbook partner of the NHL. And a very similar thing you can do tomorrow, Sunday. It could be the Sunday game, any of the games today with the DraftKings Sportsbook, which is all the reason why you should be signing up for an account. Look at this opportunity that's being given. New customers bet just $1 on any NHL game tonight or tomorrow, and you can win $100 in free bets if either team scores a goal. That's all it takes. Either team scores a goal, you bet $1 on any NHL game, you will win $100 in free bets. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code THPN. Again, $1 on any NFL game, and you win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. $1 on any NHL game this weekend, and you win $100 in free bets if either team scores a goal. Take advantage of that. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NFL and now the NHL as well. Must be 21 years of age or older. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download that DraftKings Sportsbook app. Sign up for an account and use the promo code THPN. All right, it is time to keep it up now and continue through the Saturday card. We'll pick up where we left off. We'll turn our attention next to Vancouver and Detroit. We've got Vancouver minus 115, minus 120. Road favorites, 5.5 the total across the board in this one. Vancouver, what a game last night. Wild one against the Philadelphia Flyers. Got to a 3-1 lead and then a 4-2 lead. And the Flyers, to be honest, a little fortuitous for the Flyers to tie the game. I mean, with the net empty, 4-3, and then the tying goal by Giroux took it off the boards. Crazy bounce, crazy carom, right back to him, and he put it over the shoulder of Thatcher Demko to tie it. Vancouver pretty much controlled the overtime, couldn't score. And then, of course, Vancouver ends up getting the victory in a shootout. Detroit, obviously, they had defensive issues. They had a 6-3 lead against Tampa, couldn't hold it. 7-6 loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning. I was surprised to see my guy Nedeljkovic struggle so much in that game, knowing how much and how highly we thought of him coming into this year. Thomas Greiss going to be the goaltender for the Detroit Red Wings tonight. I guess Blashill looking just for a change, give Nedeljkovic maybe a mental break after such a tough game that ended up going against Detroit the other night. Greiss last year, not bad, 2.7 goals against, 912 save percentage. We'll see how he fares in this game for the Detroit Red Wings. Now, of course, Demko played in net last night for Vancouver, which means we could see Jaro Halak make his Vancouver Canucks debut tonight. It hasn't been confirmed, but I would be extremely surprised if we don't see Yaroslav Halak be the goaltender for the Vancouver Canucks. Of course, they got the veteran netminder in the offseason to become the backup to Greiss. So based on Vancouver's offensive upside, and like I say, we took advantage of Podkolzin moving up the lineup last night to play on the second line with Pettersson. Isn't it amazing? You start scoring goals as soon as you play with a guy like Elias Pettersson. And certainly that was the case for Pud Colson. JT Miller, the other line mate for Pettersson, got on the scoreboard last night as well. So certainly Vancouver was good offensively. They blew the lead late, but Detroit obviously in shambles defensively against Tampa. So at 5.5, it's pretty much over or pass for me. The one concern is I'd expect both teams to want to tighten it up. Vancouver wasn't happy coughing up the lead. Detroit was hideous defensively. But even if they do play better on defense, you're talking 5.5 here with this total at pretty much even money. I would still look in that direction with Vancouver, Detroit over 5.5 tonight. Alex, what do you think? Canucks, Red Wings?
Yeah, it's going to be a play for me. Over 5.5. I got it minus $1.10. And this definitely, like I said, with Thomas Greiss in that, we saw the struggles that he had. And, I think he'll be better. Obviously, he's not, expected to be the number one guy now. That's going to be Nedeljkovic for sure. But like I said, he struggled. The defense in front of him struggled as well. And like I said, this is a Vancouver team that it seems that, we saw this when they were playing well a couple of years ago. They had this kind of high pace and high volume. Like I said, Pettersson, he's the straw that stirs the drink for this offense. I think we're going to see him not only chip in with goals, but like I said, assists. He's going to help whoever's around him on that top line as well. So this definitely feels like it could be a back and forth game. I like that over 5.5 at a good price.
All right, there you go. Vancouver, Detroit over 5.5 for Alex. Carolina, Nashville. We've got pretty much even money here, both sides. 5.5 the total across the board. Playoff rematch. Again, these teams faced each other in the postseason last year. And certainly from a Nashville standpoint, I'm sure they'll be fired up to play this team that knocked them out last year. But I still don't know if Nashville is any better than they were last. I don't think they are. In fact, they could be worse. And what I do know about this series here, is that Carolina, it's weird that Carolina actually in the playoffs, didn't exactly play well in Nashville. But in the regular season in the past, they have played well against Nashville. I lean Carolina here at the even money price. I still think they're the better of these two teams by a pretty decent margin. I mean, I faded Nashville in the first game. It's certainly not going to be the last time I fade Nashville or go against them when I backed Seattle on Thursday night in that win. So I like Carolina, but what I like even more is over 5.5 here. For me, when you look at these two teams, when you look at Carolina, this forward group, I've said it multiple times, I'll just reiterate it. They can get scoring from anybody in this lineup. Look who's on the fourth line. Jordan Martinook, Derek Stepan, who's been a veteran guy that scored and produced offensively in the past, and Steven Lorenz, who can do it. That's the fourth line. So you can get even some offense from those guys. Niederreiter, Jordan Stahl, and Jesper Fast on the third line. There's offensive potential there with those three. Andrei Svechnikov, Vincent Trocheck, Teravainen, goes without saying. Kotkaniemi's fit in nicely already with Aho and Martin Necas on the top line. These are 12 forwards that can all strike at any moment on any shift. And I think that is something you definitely need to keep in mind if you're going to end up betting these Carolina games, because I think they're a dead nuts over team. You combine that with the blue line that I think misses Dougie Hamilton, misses Jake Bean a little bit. Still a good blue line, but I look at Tony DeAngelo as a defensive liability, a little bit. He's now on this blue line. He's a very good skater and all that, but at the defensive end, he's not exactly sturdy in terms of shutdown role. And then the goaltending this year, I don't think is as good as last year or quite as reliable. Freddie Anderson was good enough to get the win against the Islanders, but he still gave up a few. And then, of course, Antti Raanta, who not only consistency, but injuries a concern for him over the last few years. So I think it's the ultimate over team, Carolina. And for now, take advantage. Like they pulled the Islanders into a high-scoring affair the other night, and that's not easy to do. Total was 5.5. This one's 5.5. Take advantage of these 5.5 totals, because if Carolina continues to trend over, which I think they might, you might see a 6 at some point. So for me, Carolina minus 110, but even like the over more than that, 5.5 here with the total. Carolina, Nashville over. Alex, what do you think here? Carolina, Nashville.
Yeah, we're in agreement with this for sure. I like Carolina on what is an over team. Like I said, they should definitely be able to pull Nashville into a high scoring affair if they can do that with the Islanders. But I also like the first period over too. We're still getting good value with that number for the moment. That'll probably be the first to go before we see the numbers change with the full game. You can get minus $1.15 at 1.5. So he said both plays I really like. I personally played each and split them half unit because of how big the card is today. But if this were a shorter, day, I'd probably be playing both of them full unit. So I do like both sides a lot, but I'm splitting it just to kind of limit my exposure. It is the first Saturday after all. We've got a long way to go. So, but I like first period over, full game over. I think we should see that definitely cash.
Just got a confirmation that Freddie Anderson is in net tonight for Carolina again, as I expected he would be. You would think Saros for Nashville, although that hasn't been confirmed, but I would expect him to be back in net as well. St. Louis, Colorado. We've got Colorado minus 145, home favorites, 5.5 the total here in this one. For the St. Louis Blues, they get their season going against this Avalanche team, a St. Louis team that I think is going to be better offensively this year. You look at this lineup. And this is another team, kind of like Carolina coming into the year. I said, watch out for some St. Louis overs this year. And I'm going to put that to the test here in this game. St. Louis, Colorado, over 5.5. You look at it. Obviously, Brandon Saad, Ryan O'Reilly on the top line, Jordan Kyrou, Braden Shen, and the new acquisition, Pavel Buchnevich, of course, from the New York Rangers. Great offensive addition because this team could use a little bit more goal scoring. He's still very young, just 26 years old. Last year, 20 goals, 28 assists for the New York Rangers. He's going to get a top 6-4. And that was only, by the way, in 54 games. So 48 points, almost a point per game clip last year for Pavel Buchnevich as a member of the New York Rangers. So a great addition to this top 6 forward group for the St. Louis Blues. You got James Neal, Robert Thomas, Vlad Tarasenko on the third line, Tyler Bozak, Barbashev on the fourth line. It just all of a sudden now, just getting Buchnevich, it just like with a baseball team, you get one guy, it just expands the lineup. It's a deeper lineup. Same with getting Buchnevich. It's all of a sudden a little bit of a deeper forward group now for the St. Louis Blues. On the flip side, Colorado took care of business in their first game against Chicago. Darcy Kemper was outstanding. That's the one thing that scares me about the over is he could play that good again. And we might be in tough here, but Kemper was great in the game against Chicago. Excellent debut for him with the Avalanche. But I still question whether game to game, especially early in the year, and especially without Devon Taves, their best shutdown defenseman, whether they can consistently keep teams off the scoreboard early in the year, even without Landeskog, who's now serving a suspension, and Nate McKinnon remains out on the COVID list. You've still got enough offensive ability here on this team to make up for that going into this game still with Kadri, with Rantanen, with Burakovsky, Comfort, Jost, and company. So, it hurts to be without McKinnon and Landeskog, but still a team that's capable of putting up goals here moving forward. So let's go with the over here, 5.5. I said coming into the year, we're going to look to some St. Louis games over, an improved offensive team, a team defensively that could certainly showed signs of decline last year at the defensive end. And I don't know if they're miles better this year defensively. And then Binnington and Husso. Binnington's save percentage, goals against dropped last year. And that's a bother for me. He just hasn't been as good as that Stanley Cup year. So 5.5, give me the over here with the Blues and the Avs. Alex, what's your take? St. Louis, Colorado.
Yeah, we talked about the playoff revenge angle potentially with Carolina and Nashville, but I think it's even more prevalent here with St. Louis. They got bounced in 4 straight against the Avs in the playoffs. I think they're going to want to try to really kind of stick it to them, especially being on the road here. These are two teams that, like I said, the over kind of been a pathway for these two teams, especially early. But I didn't play the first period over. I lean with that, but I like the full game over more. I think this might be where the teams feel each other out early. We don't see much, and then things explode late. So I got a piece of over 5.5, but you might be able to even get a better adjusted number live. Maybe we get 4.5 or a plus price with that 5. So keep that in mind as well.
All right, we move on to Calgary and Edmonton. The Battle of Alberta is always good. Minus 150, Edmonton home favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. One of my rapidly ascending in my rankings of play-by-play broadcasters for hockey, especially national TV, whether it's the States, whether it's Canada. Harna Ryan Singh on Hockey Night in Canada. I love that it actually gives you that little soccer element every now, especially only for the big goals, the overtime goals, a big goal, go-ahead goal late in the game. You'll hear Connor McDavid. You'll hear that from Harna Ryan, and I like that he gives you that every now and then, just like it sounds like you're listening to a soccer game. But yeah, he's becoming one of my favorites. He's on the call for this one for Hockey Night tonight. Calgary Edmonton should be a great game. I trust Edmonton more than Calgary. It is the first game for Calgary. This is their season opener. We'll see what Daryl Sutter can do and that crack the whip style of coaching, that he often brings to the table for a team that, has underachieved the last couple of years. Can he, like, this is basically, Alex, the last shot for this core to do something well together, because there's going to be, if Daryl Sutter can't rescue it this year, then it's pretty much going to get blown up. You could see Monahan moved. You could see Johnny Gaudreau moved. Elias Lindholm might be gone. I mean, you could see a lot of different changes here. Noah Hannafin could be, jettisoned out of there. It's definitely going to be a perform, or there's going to be changes to this team kind of year for the Calgary Flames. I don't know if I'm ready to. I need to see them play well first here in a game before I back them. Unfortunately, the numbers climb to the point where at minus 150, I'm not ready to lay that price with Edmonton here. I do like the over a little bit, just because, and at 6.5, I would have liked it more at 6 or better. I think they've adjusted a little bit to the fact it's been a high-scoring series for the most part when these teams go head-to-head. But again, chippy, could be physical, could be more penalties, and often that ends up being a situation where you get more goals. The more physical and the more nasty and the more hard feelings there are on the ice between the two teams, that sometimes leads to more man advantage situations and more goals. So a small bet for me, over 6.5, and I would only look to Edmonton. I might still play Edmonton small in regulation here, but you never know. Close game rivals, but I lean Edmonton in regulation. I'll also go over 6.5. Alex, what do you think here? Battle of Alberta.
Yeah, obviously the animosity is going to be there in spades with these two teams. They just simply do not like each other. It carries over no matter who the coach, no matter the players. They know the importance of this rivalry, and back with fans in the crowd, it's going to be even more electrified than it was this past year where they were in the same division again. But I'm going to be looking for a live first period over. I'm not laying 145 or 150. I want to wait a couple of minutes in and wait for that number to trickle down. Anything minus $1.20 or better. And then, like I said, because it's going to take some time, and then we're going to see the power plays, the penalties build up, and want to try to get in before the first goal is scored. But we do not want to play that beforehand. We want to do that live. So live first period over for the Battle of Alberta.
All right, good stuff. Absolutely outstanding here. So we'll see how this one goes. Next up, we've got Winnipeg and San Jose. Winnipeg minus 135, minus 140, road favorites, 6 the total. This number's climbing up too, Alex. I'm disappointed because I would have thought the Winnipeg Jets would have been absolutely, a great spot here, and I still think so. But I thought the price would be a little bit better when it opened. But a lot of people are seeing what I'm seeing here, Alex. That this is a good bounce back spot for Winnipeg. San Jose's playing their first game. And the one thing for the Sharks that they've got going, Alex, is that, they don't have Martin Jones on the team anymore. So that's good, but Aiden Hill and James Reimer aren't exactly, Marty Brodeur-esque goaltending for this Sharks team. We'll see how this goes here moving forward for them. But you look at up front too with the forward group, Logan Couture slowed down in the last couple of years. Hurdle's still a good player, but there's talk that he's on the block a little bit. Evander Kane, of course, has been, causing all kinds of issues off the ice. I mean, whether it's gambling investigations, whether it's fake vaccination cards, it just seems absolutely like there's one thing after another with that guy, and definitely something that you would be concerned about moving forward. But and the problem is, Alex, for as much as he's got some issues off the ice, he's one of your best offensive players. And without him, are you going to be able to score goals consistently is going to be the question mark for this San Jose team. I just think for Winnipeg, I'm hearing good things from Hellebuck, the team that they just didn't love they thought they were a little lethargic against Anaheim in that loss the other night in their first game. I'd expect better. And long term, I know something about Hellebuck, Alex, is that he's got a good track record long term. After a loss, after a bad performance. And I think you're going to see that from him tonight in this game. Now, sometimes Maurice surprises you and doesn't always start Hellebuck after a loss, but I'm hoping we see that tonight. It hasn't been confirmed. We do know it'll be Aiden Hill in net for the San Jose Sharks tonight. But you look at the blue line, too. They still give up a lot in terms of chances allowed and shots allowed last year. Carlson is a liability at times in his own zone. Brent Burns' defensive plays declined. Even Vlasic, who's been their best shutdown defenseman for years, as he gets older, you've seen him lose a step or two at the back end as well. So I think Winnipeg gets right back on track, and I'll take Winnipeg here minus 135 in this one. Alex, what do you think here with the Jets and the Sharks?
Yeah, I expect to see a bounce back here with the Jets too. And this is it's actually one of the only side plays I really have. I got Winnipeg in regulation plus $1.20. I played that earlier today. Like I said, I'm expecting Hellebuck to start, and if he does, like I said, he's great off of a loss. He's done fairly well against San Jose, and like I said, I just don't see where the Sharks' offense comes in. Aiden Hill's a guy that can't be trusted, in my opinion. So this definitely seems to be a good bounce back spot for Winnipeg, and you can grab a plus price with them to win in 60 minutes.
Yeah, and also some good news, too, for Winnipeg going into this game is that they have Mark Scheifele back. Remember, he had to serve one more game from that suspension from the hit on Jake Evans in the playoffs last year against Montreal. So that suspension's over. He is back, and he'll be on that top-line center spot tonight in between Kyle Connor and Blake Wheeler. I like Pierre-Luc Dubois again tonight. I thought even though it was a tough night for the team overall, I saw improvement from Pierre-Luc Dubois in the last game, and I'm going to roll with Kyle Connor again, shots and goal-scoring prop. I mean, he is just someone that finds a way to produce offensively and find the back of the net. So very, very good stuff from him, and we'll see if that continues here tonight. He got the only goal, obviously, for Winnipeg in the game against Anaheim the other night. All right, the final game of this massive, well, I shouldn't say that. We're going to do the Sunday game too, Dallas-Ottawa, but final game for Saturday, Minnesota, Los Angeles, even money, minus 110, both sides, 5.5 the total in this one. And perfect kind of result for me last night with the Minnesota game. I wasn't involved in the Ducks in the Wild, but Minnesota wins it, 7 seconds to go, 2-1. Marcus Foligno gets the game-winning goal. And now I think this sets up great to go against, sorry to tell you this here, Terry, but go against the Wild here. I like what I saw from LA the other night. Very impressive at home. Good win against Vegas, 6-2. I like this spot here for the Kings in this one, minus 110. With the back-to-back situation here for Minnesota, even though it's no travel, Anaheim and LA, they usually just stay at the same hotel, and there's not much travel. But I could see LA being a good way to go here. I like the way they play. How about Kopitar? Outstanding game from him the other night for the LA Kings. And look, because they got Philip Deneau on the second line, more of a defensive conscience, you all of a sudden have Anze Kopitar more looking toward, he's always had to be a very, very conscious defensive forward, and he still will be, but he's freed up to be better offensively now. And look what ended up happening. You've got a situation where he got a hat trick, in the first game against the Golden Knights, and 2 assists as well. 5-point night for Anze Kopitar against Vegas. So you got to maybe ride him a little bit, that now he's going to really have an offensive surge this year, because now he doesn't have to do all the heavy grunt work in terms of checking from the center spot with Deneau on the team now, which helps them out. Kachev, there's another guy, goal scoring prop shots. That guy is making things happen. They really like the upside that he brings to this Kings team as well. And again, they're fresh, they're rested, and Minnesota after the win against Anaheim, and maybe going with Kaapo Kähkönen in net tonight as well after the victory against the Ducks last night. So I like LA, and I like the over as well, 5.5. LA could be a little bit more of an over team, more offense in them. We certainly saw that against Vegas the other night. And I think after Minnesota was, basically pulled into a defensive, dull game last night by Anaheim, that's just the kind of game it ended up being. I think they open it up a little bit more. They get their own offense going a bit more tonight against LA. And let's be honest, Stolarz was very good. Minnesota carried the play a lot during that game last night, and Stolarz was a big reason that Anaheim still had a chance late in the game. So I like the Kings here at even money, and I like over 5.5, minus 115 as well. Alex, what do you think here with the Kings and the Wild?
Yeah, just a quick update with people mentioned in the chat, but 59-year-old Andrew Ladd has scored for Arizona, and it's now 1-0 Coyotes, so still got a chance to get that first period over. With that being said, I like this Kings Wild game. It's going to be a fun. This was a division battle last year, and these two teams, even before that shortened season, they just had this kind of like weird, sometimes you see this where they're not necessarily rivals, but they just build this kind of animosity toward each other, and they play a little bit chippy and have some good, compelling games. For whatever reason, that's what we've seen from LA and Minnesota, whether the game takes place here in Excel Center or at Staples Center. So I think this is going to be a fun battle. He said Anthony Stolarz pretty much did his best John Gibson impersonation all last night until the last 7 seconds of the game. And unfortunately, they end up losing 2-1. I don't think we're going to see that from him in any other start the rest of the year. I would bet some good money that chances are he plays more like his average self, which is mediocre. The Wild had a ton of shots on goal. The Neil outshot Anaheim by a 2-1 margin. And I think they'll be able to carry that over. I like this first period over here, minus $1.15. That's the only thing I'm going to play. I'm not going to play the full game because we could see this maybe slow down a bit. And like I said, it gets kind of chippy at times. But both teams offensively do look good so far. The Wild did have a kind of a rough spot with a couple of their power plays. They're still in that mode of being a bit timid, making too many extra passes. So that's something they gotta correct. But 5-on-5, their offense is good. Their speed was solid. I think we're gonna see that carry over, especially against a faster LA team. Excuse me. So I like the first period over 1.5 minus $1.15.
All right, over 1.5 minus 115, first period, Minnesota, LA for Alex B. Smith. And we'll wrap it up with the one game on Sunday, Dallas Stars, Ottawa Senators. We've got, it looks like right now the current line has Dallas around minus 135 in this game as road favorites, 5.5 the total. Let's see how both Dallas and Ottawa, who are in action on Saturday, let's see how their games go tonight. But just an initial lean, since we want to talk about this game today, is Ottawa, because I think they play well at home. We'll see what the goaltending situation ends up being for both of these teams, but I definitely lean a little bit to the Ottawa Senators here. And by the way, Dallas 0-4 in their last 4 visits to Ottawa as well. And I said about the Stars, I know they got the win against the Rangers, but they're still more of a bet against team than bet on. Maybe they're going to exceed my expectations, and we know they still have a capable enough group of forwards, Gurianov and Rupe Hintz and Sagan, Ben Pavelski and company. But, I'm still going to trust Ottawa here because I find they had a good home record last year, good sometimes as home underdogs. We saw what they did against Toronto, their first game as home underdogs on Thursday night. So, again, we don't have goaltending info. We'll know that tomorrow. We'll see how Dallas plays against Boston tonight on Saturday. We'll see how Ottawa does against Toronto tonight and base our final decisions off that. But right now, I'm leaning Ottawa here in this game on Sunday as a home dog. Alex, your initial thoughts on the Sunday game, the only Sunday game in the NHL, Dallas-Ottawa?
Yeah, we do have confirmation that it'll be Khudobin tonight tomorrow for Dallas because of Holtby tonight. That has been confirmed. But we're not sure. More than likely going to see Philip Gustafson for Ottawa in the Sunday slate. Like I said, usually we'll kind of want to wait and see what happens with these two teams. I probably won't have anything on it because of how big tonight's card is. So even win or lose, there's nothing here that I really like in this spot. Two teams off of back-to-backs. Definitely one to watch and see how they react. Coming right back, especially with an odder start time at 5 Eastern, so 3 for 4 o'clock rather for Dallas internally. So it'll be more than likely a pass for me.
All right, likely a pass for Alex with Dallas and Ottawa. And there we go. That is the Saturday NHL card and the Sunday game as well. Dallas and Ottawa. A great show. We appreciate everybody joining us here on this Saturday afternoon show. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button. That's very important. Helps us out, the channel, and helps the show. We appreciate you giving the support. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. We appreciate everyone who joins us live on YouTube. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week on YouTube. The only NHL hockey betting show that is live 7 days a week. Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. Although, again, we will not have a show tomorrow with just the one game, which we just talked about for tomorrow. So we will be back on Monday, our next show, 2 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Ice Guys. And we have a special surprise lined up for Monday's show. So make sure you join us for that. We got a surprise on tap for you on Monday. Join us for that. So there you go. If you can't watch the show live on YouTube 7 days a week, make sure you download the Ice Guys podcast. It's available in audio form on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Looking forward, if you can't watch the show live, make sure you download the Ice Guys podcast. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the action, especially hockey, but the other sports as well. Cash some tickets, enjoy the games, and good luck. And we will see you again on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.